To know more about how a law firm drives business growth, especially in Indonesia, joining us today in our studio is Songkar Partners Founder As'ad Soengkar. Thank you for joining us in Business Talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, enlighten us on how a law firm would support business growth, especially in Indonesia.
Okay. Actually, thank you for inviting me, first of all. And then, actually, in the last previous years, law firm is not needed in Indonesia. But now, law firm is very, very needed in Indonesia. Why? Because all the business will be head to head with the legal, especially if we don't have any lawyer, if we don't have any legal representation, will be much difficult to run the business in Indonesia. Firstly, because of we need to comply with the regulation, and most of all the complexity of the legal industry and also the regulation. It's become more complicated.
Okay, so you're saying that a company really needs law for their businesses to basically grow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what happens if they don't have?
They will facing a lot of issue with the law, especially in any kind of the business. They will facing an issue with the law, and if they facing issue with the law, it's very, very costly in Indonesia. So it's better if to prevent the issue with the legal issue rather than to cure the problem.
So it's better to mitigate than to
exactly.
do the damage later on.
Exactly.
Okay. And based on your experiences, which business or which industries do find most dynamic in terms of legal support as well as needs?
All the industry will need the legal in the future. Any kind of industry will need the advice from legal perspective. Whether the company has the legal representation internally, but we still need outside, because the outside legal representation will see the problem wider. They will see the complexity of the industry wider. So if, say, the business is a F&B business, it's not only F&B business, they will expand. If they will expand, they need a lawyer that understands the property business, a lawyer that understands about if they want to go to IPO, they will need a law firm that registered for the IPO.
So you're talking about whatever scale of business, or is that any specific scale?
All scale, all the industry, yeah.
Industries. All right, and it goes for any sector or any industry.
Yes.
All right, so now, your firm, Soengkar Partners, is known for its cross-border expertise. What are the key legal considerations for businesses expanding internationally?
Based on my experience, expanding the business outside, we have to understand the local business in the outside, on the foreign country. Say if the company will want to involve to the industry in, say, Middle East, say like in Saudi, they have to understand the regulation internally, but they need a trust lawyer locally. So they will understand the regulation before they enter into the business on that country.
Which are the most difficult, let's say, countries that collaborate with Indonesian companies based on your experience?
Mostly in Africa.
In African countries.
It's difficult.
Can you share us why is that so?
First is the problem with the distance, the problem with the language, and the problem with the regulation. If I can say, Indonesia is in the middle, and Africa is in the bottom. It's difficult to to cooperate with them and make to understand how they can enforce the law. That's the main problem.
Okay, so you're saying that there is a gap in terms of the standard between Indonesia and those African countries. And how do you assist multinational and foreign companies in understanding Indonesia's regulatory landscape? Sometimes we are quite well known for very complicated and over the top, sort of like regulations in our country.
Yeah, that's true. The main issue usually, if this company is it's like fresh from the boat, it's difficult. But if they already here, it's more easy because they understand the culture in Indonesia. But if the company is just directly from outside, it's difficult. We have to make sure that they understand the situation, the problem with the regulation, the problem with the complexity of the legal system, the problem with the law enforcement, especially the main problem, law enforcement here in Indonesia. That's the main issue that most of the foreign investment asking, and they need the confidence of if they invest in Indonesia, the law enforcement can be applied.
So you're saying that the stumbling blocks that makes companies would say, wait a minute, when we invest in Indonesia, we're not sure about the law enforcement. And how do you sort of like bridge these problems? I mean, how to shed them lights on what's the regulation in Indonesia in terms of law enforcement so that the business can actually go forward?
Yeah. So what they have to understand the regulation system first, and then we have to be sure all the system, all the compliance will put in place. Do not make any single mistake when we start the business in Indonesia. So if we can comply that, we can make sure that the business can be running well.
Okay, so from your explanation, you're also saying that the business really needs this law in business, let's say, to expand more. So how can you sort of like give us some kind of an understanding what kind of growth or expansion that will come when you are having the support from, let's say, Soengkar Partners?
Actually, we will try to prevent all the problem in the future. We will make sure we do the audit of the company, make sure there's no single loophole that can be used by the other law enforcement to put a lot of problem with us in the future. If we can comply the audit first, and then we can running the company, the business well.
Can you give us an example? You were saying, you were taking an example of an F&B business. What would be like the loophole or some kind of a trap that they might get into when it comes to F&B business?
Yeah, mostly the main problem is with the employment agreement, especially the employment agreement. Because in Indonesia, hiring is easy, but firing, it takes time. It's more difficult because our regulation, although we have the omnibus law, but our regulation, it takes time, to finish how we can fire this person, because they can file the case to the labor court, and then they can still appeal to the high court. They can still cassation in the Supreme Court. It takes time. I can say maybe at least 3 or 4 years.
All right. Now, the legal industry constantly evolving. And how does your firm stay ahead of these regulatory changes as well as market trends?
The key is with the artificial intelligence. That's the key, because in the future, all the business will be impacted by AI. Even the law firm. Even the law firm will impact. Why? It's more easier. It's like the auditor with the calculator. We cannot head-to-head with them, but we can use them as a partner.
Okay, so you're saying that you are adopting AI in your business as well because it will be the future?
Yes, correct. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Pak As'ad, thank you so much for coming to Say Today Business and enlightening us on how very important it is for business to have a very strong law business as well and law support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that was our conversation on how a law firm drives business growth for today's Business Talk. In the meantime, don't forget to follow our socials where we are on Instagram, X and YouTube at Say Today News. And we're also available online at saytodaynews.com. Stay with us.